You just press play on the Last Breath Hunt Cast, home of the Huntroversy. We're here to entertain, educate, and engage. And in case you didn't know, you only live once. But if you do it right, once is enough. Don't waste it.
Glorious day. Hello, everyone. I don't know if it's the morning, the afternoon, or the evening, but we're glad you're listening to it. This is Garrett, and across from me, we've got your typical host, Grant.
You sounded like a church nun. Glorious day.
Oh, yeah. I might just be a pastor one day. You never know.
You're very holy.
Yep. I know.
I'm just so glad you're still a virgin.
Yes. Innocent as they come. No, in all honesty, I'd probably catch on fire if I went to church. I'd have to do some Hail Marys and get rebaptized, the whole shebang, before I step foot.
Probably. You're like a vampire. What burns vampires? Holy water, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
You're like a vampire.
Maybe, yeah. You know, enough skeletons in the closet. But anyway, besides the point, this is episode number 97. And this is actually kind of, it's a pivotal podcast for us. We're no longer going to be beating you down with turkeys. I today put Teddy in hibernation, packed all the decoys away, put the turkey. Yeah, you know, and now it's funny because literally the day after turkey season closed in Illinois, on Friday, we were out doing whitetail work. The day after it closed. I mean, it's just like a light switch here. Don't get me wrong, absolutely love turkey hunting. It was a blast this season. We had a hell of a good year, but everybody knows that the holy grail comes in the fall. So, without any further ado, we're going to pay some bills, and we want to thank the sponsor that makes this podcast available. That is Badlands Gear, and you've heard us say how awesome their stuff is, and we really mean it. I pretty much ran the Calor almost all season long because it was a very mild spring.
It was. It wasn't a lot of very deep cutting cold days in the morning. It was.
No, it was even, but it didn't get hot. You know, I really feel like in the past, the fourth or fifth seasons, it'd get upper 70s in that midday, and we had it a couple times, but not really consistent. So that Calor for me was a perfect happy medium of comfort, quietness, and just maneuverability. I did use the Rise a couple times when it was warmer, and actually we did the exchange where even with Jesse that one day, Saturday of his season and your season, we were a little bit heavier dressed in the morning. It frosted that morning, but then by like 10 o'clock the sun had come out, and we actually changed out our clothes right before you killed your bird. Actually,
shed a few layers
at the truck, and then went over to there. But that is something that I've come to really appreciate and adopt, that system of layering. The Grant and Garrett 6, 7, 8 years ago, we had the one big poofy jacket that was like it, or we would have a system that's for early season, and then for like the middle of the season you were either too hot or too cold, and then we had our late season gear, where with the Badlands and kind of adopting their layering system, you really utilize all of your gear throughout the season. You're just kind of combinations are changing. You're adding a layer or shedding a layer. You're putting this on or taking this off, and it's being, I guess, modular. It's really allowed us to adapt and pretty much hunt in any situation we want.
Yeah, I'm constantly grabbing new garments and putting them on when I need an extra 10 degrees lower or 10 degrees less heat, and I'm keeping a mindful watch on the weather and the forecast. And I totally agree with you. It's kind of that mathematical question that you got in like 8th grade when you learned what a combination, number of possibilities in a situation are. Like, if you've got 2 jackets and 2 pants, how many total combinations can you wear? And with all the stuff that we have, it enables us to hunt pretty effortlessly in any kind of weather that Mother Nature throws our way. So, really love being a part of Badlands. We've got a 30% discount code with them. So if you'd like that code, then just message any of the 8 of us. We will give it to you. We just don't want that floating around the internet. And that's just for our fans, just as a way to give back. And that's pretty much it. You ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll. So today we are talking about whitetail prep, specifically food plots. We use and trust Whitetail Institute. We're happy to work with them, and we've had a ton of success with their products. You can see the success that we've had. Our Last Breath Live series is something that we do that really gives, especially this time of year where we're diving into, hey guys, we're doing X, Y, Z, to show you what we're putting in the ground, what we're doing for TSI projects, trail camera projects, etc., to be ready for the fall. And a large part of that is food plotting. And food plotting is really so much bigger than a spot that you plant something to kill a deer in. As we've kind of embraced the entire Whitetail Institute line, they've got multiple different blends of seeds out there that do more than just put food in the ground. You've got hybrid bedding and cover mixes. You've got screen mixes. You have hybrid food source and bedding mixes. And we're going to get into those today based on our Friday project. But, man, I mean, it's just impressive to see what you can do on a farm and how much you can change it with managing the land, not just the deer. I mean, a lot of people talk about your buck-to-doe ratio, your age structure, your density, and those are very important factors. But when you focus on the dirt itself and the trees and the fauna and the forage, man, did we see such a big difference last year, specifically in the late season. When we talked about the years past this farm that we have been grooming and manicuring for 2 years with the help of Chase Burns consultation, record high for sheds was three. And this year we found 13 sheds. And the only thing we've changed is what we do to the ground.
Yep. What we do to the ground in our TSI projects. And, you guys have heard us talk about those before. But specifically with food plots, we've ratcheted up to a whole nother level. And I just wanted to say something about Whitetail Institute before we got going. And that is, if you guys have ever bought a pre-made food plot mix before, there are several companies that will add in a lot of nonsense. By nonsense, I mean things that really aren't what they say. So
filler seeds
to get you to that 100%. Meaning, let's say you buy a turnips mix. There'll be about 80% turnips in there, but then there'll be another 20% mystery, or
I think it's even the other way. I've noticed some of the secondary companies that are out there, and everybody makes their own food plot blends, but it's required by the Department of Agriculture that every seed mix that is sold that is itemized percentage based by quantity on the back. And if you look at that, what Grant's getting at is that we have done it at tons of sporting goods stores where you'll flip it over and it'll be turnips plus ravish, whatever their blend is, and it'll say like 60% annual ryegrass.
Yep.
Boom, automatically you're buying over half of that bag of seed is the cheapest grass seed that you can buy. Okay, and then you go down the line and there'll be something else, and then finally you'll hit turnips and it'll be like 15% of your bag.
Yep.
And what happens is, you guys will throw this out and it'll be green immediately. And you're like, wow, this is looking great. Well, no shit, Sherlock. You just threw out annual ryegrass. Yeah. It's a contact grower. It's the easiest thing to grow. Almost by some people's standards, it's a weed, So what we've appreciated working with Whitetail Institute is when you flip those over, they're not the cheapest thing on the shelf, but your seed blend is going to be 80 to 90%. There's always going to be some factors of inert seed or inert matter that's in the mix. That's just a product of making it. But you're going to have 85, 90, 95% of that seed mix is going to be the seeds that you want to put in the ground that are going to attract the deer or that are going to do what you want that blend to do.
Yep, and I just brought that up just to come to more so of a defense of Whitetail Institute, because I've seen on some forums, and I kind of on social media, my philosophy is kind of keep it at arm's length. I don't try to get into any pissing matches with anyone. I just kind of like to lay in the weeds and absorb what's going on around me and kind of look who's saying what, when they're saying it, why they're saying it, etc., and then try to form my own opinion based on that. And I've seen some comments, so I wanted to tell you guys, if you're interested in buying Whitetail Institute, message us. Check out our Last Breath Lives. We've got a lot of video, photo evidence, especially in our Imperial Clover blend that we've planted. I just think it's a top-notch seed, and I just didn't want anybody to kind of shy away, because I feel like lots of people are so sick and tired of buying throw and grow food plot mix just because of all that bullshit that's in there, that they're just saying, okay, I'm going to go to a local seed store and I'm going to buy literally 100 pounds of turnips or literally 100 pounds of clover seed, just so I can make sure that it's 100% that seed, because I'm tired of all the filler. I'm tired of grass seeds, weed seeds, things that I don't want in my food plot blend. So if you guys are ever interested in planting anything Whitetail Institute, then just let us know. We've planted about 6 different things that they make, and we've been very impressed with all of it. So to get into it, what are we going to have on the dirt this fall? And let's get into why we're going to plant each of those things. So go ahead and start with Imperial Clover.
Yeah, so starting off our menu this evening, we will start with Whitetail Institute Imperial Clover. And that is a blend that we have widely adopted and regularly used now. We recommend it to a lot of people. We've helped a lot of people get it started. It's a clover blend that thrives in a lot of different soil conditions, and it's got such a great ability to get a good hold if you prepare it right. If you prepare the seed bed right, that you will have a luscious, beautiful stand of clover that is really attractive almost all season long. And so a couple things that I really appreciate what Whitetail Institute does, especially with their smaller seed blends, is that they coat them. And you'll notice if you've ever bought, tall tine tubers or Imperial Clover or Fusion, one of their, like I said, smaller seeds. So turnips, radishes, clover mixes, chicory mixes, their seeds are very small. I'm talking like size of pepper flakes. And the natural seed color is like brown to black. And it's very, very difficult to tell where you seeded. So Whitetail Institute actually coats their seeds with a coating that does a couple different things. It helps plump the seed up. It absorbs moisture and locks it into the seed. It also helps prevent it from getting any type of fungal infection and other things while it's in the bag. And the biggest factor that I appreciate the most is that they're bright colors, usually a bright blue or a bright red or a bright yellow, and depending on the seed mix. And when you go to mix that, it is very easy to tell where you've put seed down, where you've missed, and it allows you to be a lot more thorough with your seed bed when you're actually planting. So the clover that we planted a brand new stand last year, is about an acre, and we went through the process. We killed it off really well. We tilled it. We killed it again. We re-tilled it, seeded it, within 12 hours before a rain. And my gosh, guys, I mean, that clover today, and we need to mow it, it stands at about a foot tall. There is hardly a weed in it.
I don't think there is a weed in it.
And it's so thick that when you step in it, I mean, you leave footprints. And we've seen a lot of wildlife, not just deer, a lot of wildlife come and use it. Everything from freaking groundhogs to turkeys to deer and fawns, everything just seems to really be attracted to this vibrant green source. I mean, the first part of spring, when we first started turkey hunting, that chunk was neon vibrant green, the only thing that was green in our timber. And I mean, what else do you want to add about it?
I just wanted to say that if you're skeptical about planting clover like I am, Garrett brought up, Garrett brought up this, large stand of clover that he wanted to bring in about 3 years ago. And, before then, I think it's just important to be realistic. And I think if there's one thing that you and I do pretty well as whitetail hunters is just being realistic. We know that every year we're not going to have a 200-inch deer to kill if they don't exist. We know every year we may not even have a Boone and Crockett caliber deer to kill. We hunt what we're giving, and we don't have unrealistic expectations. If you're planting into black dirt, you can have a realistic expectation that you're going to have a really good yield. But if you are planting where most whitetail hunters plant, meaning undesirable farm ground, either in the timber or ground that has got a lot of clay in it, that more brownish color instead of black.
Timber soil.
Just be realistic with the shot that you are giving your plot. Meaning, if you till something up, you plant it, and it's not the greatest ground, which, like I said, we plant on not ideal ground. We're not planting on Class A soil here. That's not what we're saying. Just have a realistic expectation of how long it's going to take that plot to reach maturity. So for clover, last year, to give you guys an idea, the tallest our clover got last year was about 7-8 inches, and it was a little patchier towards whitetail season, and we planted it in May. But towards whitetail season, it was getting quite a bit thicker to the point where, all right, when we're walking through it, you can see where we've walked. But this year, it's like if you've ever been to your local grocery store and grab a little pack of cilantro, to make some tacos to dice up. It's like that. I can literally reach down and grab about a diameter of about 2 to 4 inch thick diameter, much as you can grab. And the tonnage, and when I say tonnage, I mean the amount of pounds of food on the ground there is just incredible. So my best piece of advice would be get with somebody who has planted clover before. Let them put your mind at ease that the first year it's not going to be that good. But then year 2, it's going to look absolutely incredible. It's going to be the first thing that's green in the spring. And like you said, it's going to carry you in through fall. Like we've killed a couple deer over a green food source in October, using that as a point and a position to target the deer that we want to kill. And it's good all the way through the end of November.
Oh, yeah.
Until it really dies, when that snow and hard frost come every single night. It takes more than one frost to kill it and wipe it out. So it's just a really hardy mix, and just give it time. That's my thing, is be patient. I'm an impatient person by nature, as are you. And
Well, I think the big thing to understand about clover is that one of the best attractiveness things for me, or as a person sowing it, is that it's a pre-annual. That means that it grows every year. It's not just gonna be a one-time planter. You allow it to take harvest into the ground. So clover, being a legume, puts a lot of energy into its root system. So like Grant was saying, that first year, you will have a very nice food plot. It'll still attract deer and it will have a lot of tonnage. But really that second and third year, as what we've seen, is when it really explodes, because it's invested a lot of its energy, a lot of its nutrients into the root system. And now it can focus on the tops. And so last year, yes, we had, I don't even know if I want to call it spotty. We mowed it once. We did have to mow it once because it did start to bud out. And it just looked gorgeous all summer long and all winter long, even until we got the snowpack that covered it up. But this year, it's just incredibly luscious. And so if you're thinking about something, the hardest part about a food plot is establishing it. Period. The end. Seeding is not hard. Fertilizing is not hard. Spraying is not hard. But actually, year 1, where you have to do all of the work to get that area ready, especially if it's any type of like timber food plot, you've got to open up the canopy. You have to remove the vegetation, and you probably have trees in the way that you got to get out of the way. You've got to work the ground for the first time. And that first time worked the ground, whether it's a waterway or it's in the timber, it's the most compacted soil that you're going to have to work. You're going to have to run over it multiple times with a disc, or you're going to have to take your time with a tiller and really make sure that you get that seed bed ready. And so after I don't care if you're planting turnips or clover or sunflowers or beans or corn, whatever, that first year food plot, it just takes a lot of investment, and it takes a lot of the right equipment too. I mean, let's not kid around. I mean, if you have a little walk behind tiller and handsaw, man, you got your work cut out for you. But if you have the ability to rent or borrow or purchase a tractor with the right implements, man, it does make your life a lot easier. And we've done it all, dude. We've put in food plots with hand rakes and hand saws, all the way to farm equipment.
We made our first food plot 14 years ago by my count, and it was really dumb. We did not have a big spot prepared, and like you said, we used a little weed whip, which looks like a golf club with a scythe on the end of it, some hand rakes, and a little seeder. And now all the way up to, like Garrett was saying, don't be afraid to go to your Home Depot or your local rental store and grab a little 25 or 30 horse tractor. Pay the $300 or $400 to rent it for 8 to 16 hours all day. Or maybe a little tip for you guys is, if you can go to those places, sometimes you can sweet talk the owners into picking it up on Friday, like Friday afternoon, and you can get it all weekend for the same price as a day, if nobody's lined up that piece of equipment for Sunday. So that'd be my little sneaky way to get an extra day out of it. And don't be afraid to do something like that, because we've done that plenty of times. We've used a walk behind tiller, and I can't stress the importance of the difference between sowing a seed and contact seeding, which is what I want to talk about with Whitetail Institute and the clover blend specifically that we have. We tilled the absolute crap out of the ground before we spread this up. We got the dirt nice and fluffy, and then we have a harrow that we pull behind my side by side. and kind of worked a little bit of dirt over each of those seeds. Now, some seeds that are smaller like that, you can roll into the ground.
Yeah, clover you don't want to drag. You just want that's a contact seed germination. So clovers, turnips, cereal grains, you just want to broadcast and let the rain drive them into the ground. When you get into some other seed mixes, they do recommend that you cover them up with soil.
Yep. Another benefit, the last two that I could think of when thinking about our clover is, number one, if you're going to plant monocrop beans, you know that most of the beans that you plant are about like candy to a deer. When they come up and their tops are starting to just get right off the soil, deer will be in bean fields all summer long. The reason they do that is because that's very palatable and nutritious to them. They like the taste, and clover can take a beating just because it blooms so early. It gets up out of the ground before almost anything else does. That's one reason that I like it. Number two, if you go to a co-op or a local seed store and you're like, all right, I'm going to get a bunch of clover seed. Well, that may not be herbicide resistant. So the clover that we plant, you can spray with grass killer to kill all the grass that's going to come through. Because year one, like I said, the air quote canopy, I know it's funny to think about clover being a canopy because it's about 6 or 10 inches off the ground. But you can go over it with a boom sprayer or just a backpack sprayer, and you can kill all of that grass that's coming up in there and trying to compete with the clover. So you can kill that off early and have the clover canopy really compete it out and destroy anything that's trying to make an effort of putting essentially a weed in your food plot. So those are the last two benefits that I could think of. Sorry, I'm burping a little bit.
No, you're good. So moving on, I mean, we just talked your ear off about imperial clover. We really like it. We found that it's hardy, it's attractive. Like Ryan was saying, it takes a ton of browse pressure, and it kind of just checks all the boxes. It's very versatile. You can plant it in a lot of different soil types.
It's easy to plant without an implement too. You know, to drill beans, you got to have a drill or a planter. To plant corn, you got to have a planter or some kind of thing like that. You don't want to broadcast either of those things. It'll end up bad. Trust us. Been there, done that a couple times. So just till it, broadcast, spread it a couple days before rain, and be proud of the results you get.
Yep.
So what's the next thing that we're planning this year?
Well, I think this year we're planning a couple different other things, but one of the things that I want to talk about it's Whitetail Institute's close cousin, Imperial Clover's cousin, which is Fusion. So Fusion is a mix that actually has a couple different things in it added. It has the Whitetail Institute Imperial Clover blend, but also has some Winifred 100 chicory and has some sandfoin in it. And then it also has 2 different types of alfalfa. So this is more of a buffet, if you will, a variety. And we've planted that. We've got it in called the oven mitt plot. It looks really good, just as good as our Imperial Clover. The only caveat is that, to Grant's point earlier, the Imperial Clover blend is the most herbicide-resistant blend that I know of, because you can use both Arrest and Slay, which are 2 herbicides that Whitetail Institute uses for grass and other broadleafs. So if you have thistles, or let's say you've got, ditchweed or something else growing, dandelions, something else growing of a broadleaf species in your clover, you can use Slay and that Imperial Whitetail Institute, and it totally nukes everything but the clover. However, the Fusion is a little more difficult. Can you use the Arrest, the grass killer? Yes, but you can't use the Slay because there's other herbicides in there. Just something else to think about. If you want to add a little biodiversity to your green plot, you can go to like an Edge or a Fusion mix, but you limit yourself to your ability to chemically treat it. Moving on though, our Friday project, we're trying out a new product by Whitetail Institute, and it's called Power Plant. And so in between, or on the outsides of our clover plot, we've always done, a monocrop, whether it be corn or beans or something else. But with us working out a deal with a farmer, it's kind of redundant to have that on each side. So they're about 3/4 of an acre each, these two plots that are sandwiched on the outside of our clover plot. And what Power Plant is it's a mixture of sun hemp, a couple different types of forage peas, some winter peas, and some sunflowers. And this combination is designed to be kind of a 2-in-1 application, where you'll have about a 6 to 7 foot stand, if it grows correctly and healthily, of both very palatable products, very palatable plants, but also really good bedding too. So what we're wanting to do is kind of create this little green oasis of clover with the power plant both to the north and south of it, and we got timber on both sides, and it allows deer to bed more frequently on our property. We're also going to have a lot of protein-rich plants that are right next to the clover.
Yep.
And it kind of, what we're trying to do is just to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. So Friday after work, went out and tilled both of those up, and then sowed it in. Saturday we got about an inch of rain, and it'll be interesting to see how this stuff does. So again, that power plant, it does a little bit of everything. Deer do like sun hemp when it's juvenile. They love beans. They love winter peas. And then the sunflowers are actually in there to give that stand a little bit more rigidity. Deer, can eat sunflowers. I'm not saying they won't, but really it's not their cup of tea, especially once they grow and they're a little bit bigger. However, sunflowers are very sturdy, giving the forage beans and the winter peas something to climb and grow on. As they, if you've ever watched peas in a garden or anything, they'll actually have their little leaders that'll run out and climb, and that's how you usually put a trellis or a section of fence up for your peas to grow on. And same thing with these types of forage beans. They're very different than your agricultural beans. Do they create pods? Yes, but they're designed to not focus so much on the pods as they are the actual leaf and tonnage production. So they're going to be a lot more bushy, and so they're more forage resistant. They're going to have just a lot more volume per plant, and I don't know. I'm hoping in about 2 weeks we just see it starting to explode.
And talking about this power plant, that's the product that we planted from a deer hunting aspect. The reason why we chose to plant that is because, like Garrett said, the power of a forage bean or pea versus a monocrop bean is they're going to climb and get tall. And our hope is that hemp and sunflower, they're going to shoot up, be really tall, and we're going to create kind of a palatable, edible green screen. A huge, massive 3/4 acre on the north, 3/4 acre on the south section where whitetails cannot see through. So they're going to go up. It's going to be nutritious for them, but to get into our clover and to investigate our clover, to scent check that area, they're going to have to visually walk around it. And we're forcing deer to come right to one of the locations of a late season blind of ours and a tree stand that we are planning to hang. So we're going to have these two sections where if there's deer in the most desirable food in this particular plot, which is a mixture of many things, they're going to have to go around it to investigate or through it. And by providing bedding cover, like you said, by providing a visual barrier, they're going to have to check that, which is another kind of thing you can do with your food plots like we have. Is essentially what you're doing is you're creating a pinch point. You're creating a thing that deer are going to have to aggressively have to walk through that hopefully they don't want to get to our clover in the middle, which is where we'll be waiting to hopefully kill them. And then on the south end of that, we've got another early season food source to mid-season food source, and that is our turnips plot. So we have from north to south on this longer kind of skinnier plot that we have, we've got our power plant, we've got our section of clover with our late season blind location, we've got another section of power plant, and then we have our turnips. So we have two really desirable food sources that we can kill out of with our bow in the second section and the fourth section south. And then separating both of them, we have our power plant. So deer are going to be manipulated around our power plant, but it's going to be, again, a lot of tonnage, a lot of food on the ground for them that's going to provide diversity. So we're going to have clover. It's going to be awesome for them. We're going to have power plant with a mixture of different things that are going to be really hardy if our peas and beans take, as well as our sunflower seeds, and then our turnips on the south side. So that's, again, one of the reasons we wanted to plant it, because we didn't want just a 3-ish, 4-ish acre food plot here that's just a buck can come to it. He can check it. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. We wanted to force his path of travel by a place that we can kill him, which is one of the uses
Correct.
of why we are planning power plant.
So we're really excited to see how it does, because Hopefully it checks a lot of boxes. It creates safe cover. They're comfortable in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then like what Grant was saying with that visual barrier, it also we're kind of hoping that allows us to be quite a bit more aggressive with calling too. If we're up in a deer stand and we can see into, let's say, the turnips plot, but we're hunting over the clover plot,
yep.
Well, we can grunt, growl, rattle. That deer can look, but since he's on the ground, he won't be able to see through the power plant. We're forcing him to have to come down to see it. Yep. And so that'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, and go from there. And what Grant was saying is that on the other side, we use tall tine tubers is really one of our favorite blends that they make. There's also beets and greens, which is another great one we've used in the past. And these are just high tonnage, really, really good tops and bottoms for that early to mid season. We've seen a lot of success. And then those turnips kind of go, well, I shouldn't say turnips, like the brassica and bulbs blends that we plant kind of seems to go dormant in that November, early December stage, but then they pick back up in late season.
Yep.
But it's going to be pretty cool because just like what Grant was saying, I kind of made a joke earlier, the menu, we've got such a big diversity of stuff there for him to offer our deer in this resident herd. So, you look all the way on one of our farm, we've got a small oven mitt plot that's planted in fusion.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got our two sections of power plant with our imperial clover in the middle. And then we're going to have a mixture of brassicas and bulbs, which are going to be radishes, which is going to be turnips, and which is going to be, I can't think of it. Why can't I think of it?
Chicory?
No. Radishes.
Sandfoin?
Beets. Jeez.
Beets.
Jesus. So you've got this diversity across our farm that hopefully at every point in the season we're going to have something that the deer want to eat, if not multiple things that the deer want to eat, because of the successional, just the way that plants grow and mature and their sweetness levels and their sugar levels and their starch levels, and all these are going to change throughout the year. So we'll kind of have everything taken care of. The last thing that we really want to talk about is a product called Conceal. Now, Conceal is a mixture of sorghums, sun hemp, and Egyptian wheats. And it's designed, it is both a bedding area mixture, but it's also a screen mixture. And so on our large, very late season destination food source, which is an agricultural field, that we've worked out an agreement with the farmer where he'll leave us some set aside, we plant a buffer of Conceal along the one edge. So when those deer are inside of this late season food plot, they're very safe, they're very secure. There is a gravel road that borders our property, and that's going to allow them to feel a lot safer in case a car or truck or a combine, tractor, anything goes down the road. They're not going to get blown out of the field because they can't see it. They'll be able to hear it, but they won't be able to see it. And the other thing with Conceal, too, is that we've been working on a bedding project on our farm. And we had Kempers come out. You can check it out in the last Birth Inner Circle. The guy has got a pretty badass machine. And he came in and he cored out about 1.5 acre area for us. And we are going to supplement that Conceal blend with some switchgrasses, baby blue stem, big blue stem, and compass plant. We're getting ready to plant that. We got a little bit of work left to do there, but we're going to take this, fortify that mixture, and then have hopefully a perennial bedding area that eventually will put some more white pine sprigs and other things in there for thermal cover. That's going to be right in the heart of our farm. So the big picture is this, is the Conceal can be used really well as a screen, but also as a bedding area. And we're just trying to make this place as friendly as possible.
In full disclosure, we have royally screwed that up before. So we have planted Conceal in the past, a product like it, and in typical Grant and Garrett fashion, we overdid it. We didn't want any holes, so we seeded it too heavy. And what happens when you seed a blend like you're talking about that's just going to go very, very high? If you seed it too heavy, guys, it will not reach the desired height maturity. So we overseeded a neck of a food plot that we planted about 3 seasons ago. Seeded it too heavy. It was projected to grow between 6 and 10 feet, and it grew between about 4 and 6 feet at the peaks for us, meaning that deer could still see us when we were walking to and from our late season blind location, and we used it to kind of bottleneck a pinch like of beans that we had planted for the late season specifically. So our screen didn't do us that well, so lesson of hard knocks learned. Hopefully if you guys plant Conceal, there's also a product called Green Screen out there, which is
Similar.
very similar product. If you've planted either of those things, heard either of those terms, just make sure that when you're applying it, you read the bag instructions and you don't over apply it. Otherwise, it will compete with itself. It will not grow as tall as you want it to grow, and it will be self-defeating to provide visual barrier, visual cover for you going to and from your deer stand, etc. So don't make the mistake that we had. And then our blend of bedding mix, I thought this was really cool and something that I didn't know till you went and did it. So your local
NRCS,
Yep.
Natural Resources Conservation Office.
if you give them a ring, they will be able to prescribe you a conservation mix or a mix that will be ideal for wildlife and things of that nature, and they are able to provide it for you at a cost. So what'd you pay for that sack of seed, and how much did you get?
So our bag was it does roughly 3 acres, and it was about $220. And that may sound like a lot, but again, mind you that these are pretty expensive seeds, and it's a blend that the local NRCS office chooses it's going to do best in our environment. And Paul Grissom's our NRCS office liaison, and when I talked to him about it, he really they should go into depth about what you're doing, what are you wanting to do. It's not a standard, what I got is not your standard CRP mix blend. I told him, I said, hey, we want some good bedding cover, thermal, perennial. We want it to be more grasses, and we do want it to be like hardy, woody stemmed plants. And Paul did the numbers, did the works, and he ordered it for us. It came in about 5 days, and it's really a great resource for you guys to kind of lean on if you don't know about it. And they're smattered throughout all over the Midwest and in Illinois especially. But yeah, I'd reach out to your local NRCS office if you're thinking about doing something like this. And it's good quality seed. It comes fast, and it's fairly reasonable, considering that, to give you guys an idea, like half a pound of switchgrass seed on eBay, mind you. So you're rolling the dice if is it this year's seed, last year's seed, 10-year seed. It's about $30 for a half a pound, and that does not that much. Like a half pound doesn't go very far. I want you to think about like half a pound of grass seed, because that's what it's like. How much of your yard can you seed with half a pound? Not much.
20 by 20 foot, probably.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a good resource for you guys. And so basically what we've done here, and I guess this is not necessarily a food plot conversation now, since we've transitioned off of food plots and went to our TSI projects and specifically our bedding. But basically what we're trying to do here is we've made a trail system. We're trying to take deer from our bedding area that we've created, that we've had. You mentioned John Kemper, correct? Chad Kemper came out and he killed a bunch of trees off and just mulched them down to nothing. So we have this big 1.5 acres. We were planning on getting it to be about 3 or 4 acres. So we're going to do it in phases as the years progress. So we'll do another section next year, another section the year after that, and then it'll be complete. It'll be about as big as we want it to be. And we want it to look, I know that you guys, if have ever hunted Kansas before, you'll know what I'm saying. We want it to look like Kansas. We want it to be kind of rolling grass with pine trees intermittently, throughout, so that deer are going to be coming to it during the rut to check, all right, is there a doe laying up under here? I'm going to scent check this, just like a field. And most importantly, we're going to hold more deer during the late season with the thermal covers, because these grasses are going to be essentially like hay when they're matted down. They're going to be nice and soft for deer to lay on, and we're going to plant pine trees in the future, so that way there is that thermal cover, visual cover, etc., that deer like to, provide themselves with during late season. Because in Illinois and all throughout the northern Midwest, like we're talking about, you guys know as much as we do, we're no stranger to, sub-0 degree days. And on a day like that, you could probably pick out on a farm, if you got any pine trees, deer are going to be near them, just because of the amount of heat that they hold. So basically what we've done is we've created the seed mix that we're hopefully going to have a really good stand of, and that's a contact seed. So before the next rain, we're going to go out and we're going to broadcast, spread it all over the ground, and hopefully that rain drives it in well. We have a good stand of, a visual breakup for deer, and also something that's going to be really soft and comfortable for them to lay down on and use, and hopefully funnel through that trail system, right through our pinch points, right through our edge feathers, and right to our food plots where we are going to slip an arrow or a bullet through the rib cage, ideally.
Yep.
So, what else we got?
I know that Jesse and Matt, they're doing some food plots down south. They're doing a little bit of clover. They're doing some monocrop as well, and then they're a big fan of the beets and greens, beets and greens. So they ordered some of that. Cody and Homie are trying out some Whitetail Institute snow plow.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be great to get some feedback on how that worked. I'm interested because the whole concept of no plow is that you just kill the ground, you mow if you need to, and then you plant. And it's supposed to grow like gangbusters. So it'll be really cool to see how their experience is with that. Allie and Logan put in a Whitetail Institute Imperial Clover plot this year in a small bottom. Helped them with that, and we got the canopy exposed and got it all worked up. They borrowed a family member's tractor and used a little 6-foot disc and got that worked up. They sowed that on Friday, right before the rain. And then they're also going to be using Whitetail Institute's Imperial Oats come September, early October. They're going to sow it once the farmer picks some of the cornfield, and they'll be planting that. So oats, again, is a great Hail Mary. Oats, rye, wheat, triticale, those cereal grains that I'm talking about are a great Hail Mary, oh shit, something went wrong fixers for food plots.
Yep.
So an example being, let's say that, hopefully it doesn't happen, but let's just say that our turnips don't take for whatever reason. We plant them in late July like you're supposed to, and then we throw them out, they get a little bit of rain, and then it just dries up. We don't get any rain, we get a drought. So then none of them grow. Bummer for us. Well, the saving grace is that in late September, you can go in there with these cereal grains, and this is a contact seed. It is cheap to be able to buy this stuff. I mean, a 50-pound bag is cheap when you're talking per pound cost. And it allows you to put something in the ground late in the year where, let's say you messed up and you weren't able to get it done, or weather happened, or whatever, some unforeseeable instance happened and your food plot didn't take. You can always have this backup plan of a cereal grain mix that's going to fill in the holes or fill in the blank for a year. It's an annual seed. It's a contact grower. And it's a good thing to keep in the back of your mind if shit hits the fan.
Yeah. Another point I wanted to bring up, and we kind of jumped over this just because I feel like we were getting excited about talking about Conceal, but our turnips. So something we've learned and we've been doing for the last 2 years now religiously is about 5 or 6 years ago, we planted our first blend of turnips. And what ended up happening was they did not do very well. We questioned, all right, the location. Were they not getting enough sun? The rain. Was it a drought year that summer? The planting method. Did we not get the dirt covering the seeds properly? Did we cover them too much? Did we plant them too deep? Did we not plant them high enough towards the, surface of the earth, etc.? We were questioning. And what ended up happening was we ended up going to a local agricultural co-op and saying, hey, we want to buy some fertilizer from you. How much is it going to cost? And we've been getting now for the last couple years, those big
pro boxes.
Yep, big pro boxes, just like seed would come in for a commercial farmer, if you will. You've seen what we're talking about. If you go ask your co-op for a pro box of fertilizer, you'll understand what we're meaning when we're saying that. And we've been buying 1,000 to 2,000 pounds of fertilizer, and you'll tell them what the mix is in a second, because I don't know. You're the one that calls it in. I've just went and picked it up a couple times, but we've went and we've over fertilized our turnips.
Made a huge difference.
Last year, that was our second year of particularly fertilizing that ground. And like I said, it's timber soil. It's not ideal soil that we're planting on here. But this was the second year that we've fertilized it heavy, and broadcasted those, granular fertilizer pellets. And last year, we have turnips that are softball or bigger size. I would say on average, we're averaging baseball sized. But we have monster turnips in our plot. Almost every plant seemed to have germinated, and every plant that did germinate seemed to have had a massive turnip on the bottom of it, which was extremely palatable to deer. And during October specifically,
Our tops
that
were
is the hottest
fantastic.
camera that we have.
Oh.
So last year we ran about 6 mobile cameras, 3 permanents and 3 that we kind of have manipulated around throughout the course of the season. And that camera on that farm is the most data that we picked up, the most data of shooter bucks. Now, I say air quote shooter bucks because this particular area, you guys have heard us talk about it before. It got hit with EHD, but these deer were deer that we knew that were 4. And it was incredible the amount of deer that would go past this particular camera right to this food plot every time. So we had just like last year, we had a menu, but the amount of data we picked up from this one, from our turnips camera, was, I think, the leader in the data for the early season. And I just wanted to bring that up because if you go and, you spin your wheels at Menards or Lowe's and you get those 50-pound bags of fertilizer, again, a thing that we've done a lot. We fucked this up a lot. You can get a much more bang for your buck and get so much fertilizer, so much more for so much less, fewer dollars than you could.
That's the big thing. I mean, we were under fertilizing our food plots for money's sake. You go to a box store, and even if you do buy, like what Grant was saying, the 50-pound bags, you're still paying probably $1 a pound, easily, if not more. And so the typical mix that I order, unless it's something special for like your legumes, you want a really low first number, and a lot of your fruit bearing, I say fruit bearing, your seed bearing, vegetables that you grow, so turnips, corn, radishes, winter peas, things like that, they want a really high first number, nitrogen. And so what I've been ordering is usually like a 19-10-10 or a 19-19-19 mix, even across the board, with equal parts of lime. And we've been conditioning our soil, specifically in this area where we plan to do a lot of heavy nitrogen pulling plants. So like radishes, like turnips, like beets, like corn, and things of that nature. And we can get about 1,000 pounds for around $120.
Now, if you do the math on that, it is like a tenth of the cost of going to a box store and buying bags of fertilizer. And you are literally, guys, I'm not trying to put down anybody's efforts, but just like we were for years and years and years, pissing into the wind, basically. So, we pool our money together and we buy $500 worth of these bags of fertilizer, right? It's a ton of money. We save up to fertilize our plots, and it doesn't do absolutely anything because at the price that Menards and Lowe's are going to sell it, Home Depot is going to sell it for. Go to a co-op, say, hey, I want a Pro Box, which is 1,000 to 2,000 pounds of it. Pick something that your truck will be able to slide right in the bed of your truck. If you got a 1/4-ton truck or a 1/2-ton pickup or something like that, don't get 2 Pro Boxes. Don't get like 4,000 pounds and bottom yourself out there. But go and save a bunch of money. Get the good stuff. Don't overpay for it. And it is very convenient because what we've done is there's number one, there's a hatch on the bottom. So if you've got a spreader of your own and you can elevate the Pro Box, you can just trickle that fertilizer right out. But what you and I have done, we have a Moultrie spreader that plugs right into the AC adapter of my side-by-side, the cigarette adapter, and we can power it on through there. Its hopper is about 60-ish pounds, and we just take a 5-gallon bucket out and we do about 10 to 15 dumpings worth until we're just clear plumb full. And we just have been fertilizing the hell out of our turnips, and it's really shown in the last couple years with our efforts there. So take it from us, save a bunch of money, go to an agricultural co-op, and if you want to fertilize anything, so if you're planting corn in soil that is not ideal, go do that.
Oh, and corn's going to take a lot. I mean, a lot. I guess kind of wrapping up this podcast today, we're hoping we're sharing some tips, not only about the seed blends that we're using, but just about the practice that we've done.
Things that we've messed up, and we want you to learn from our mistakes here.
I think the big thing the big message I could give to you is something that you said earlier. Just have some realistic expectations of what to expect. And so you heard us talk about it. We have been there where we were broke high school kids or broke college kids, and we were out there with rudimentary equipment, and you got what you put into it. I mean, we gave a effort, but man, we were out there with a hatchet, a hand shovel, a handsaw, and rakes. Like, you got to understand that's the kind of what you're going to get out of it, or that's the size of food plot you can expect is with that. And as we've been able to, grow our careers and learn from our mistakes, we've allowed ourselves these better opportunities with equipment and things like this fertilizer and so on and so forth. And where I guess what I'm getting at is that food plots are not something easy. I'm not going to tell you that they are. We've had family members that have done it and said that they're a pain in the ass, they'll never do it again. And it's unfortunate because they did work to try to get a food plot established, but they never really got to see the benefit from it. So we're fortunate to where we have kind of done it all. We've had the futile work put in and nothing happens from it. We've had
shitloads of manual labor and the
dumped a lot of money.
Fuck this kind of thing. Like, we're sitting in there in July and we're like, none of this shit grew.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing now? What are we doing here?
So we went through the pages, if you will, and we're at a point now where we're really starting to see a lot of benefit from what we're doing. And it does help. Like Grant said, we have access to some equipment. And we've rented equipment when we can't get it. We've hired people to do stuff when we can't do it. And that takes money. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. And then we've also put ourselves in conjunction with quality seed mixes. And we've seen the benefit of using something that's really worth the money to invest in, because you're going to get the results come later in the year rather than cheaper seed or something else. And in the end, just know that if you're going to make a food plot, the biggest thing is just sit down and look at everything that you need to do, because it's going to take quite a bit of time. It's going to take quite a bit of money. And so if you're going to plant corn or turnips or radishes or peas or something along those lines, make sure you do factor in the fertilizer, because if you don't fertilize it, you're going to have really poor results. And if you're going to plant clover, make sure you factor in to acquire a tiller, whether it be borrow or rent or labor exchange, whatever it be. Just know that if you don't prepare that seed bed right, you're going to get marginal results. And same thing with spraying. If you're going to plant corn or beans, monocrop, you've got the ability to get the seed, and you don't spray it, like you don't have an ATV sprayer or somebody you can borrow one, you're going to have marginal results. And so from our experience, the biggest thing that I can tell you is just food plots can be amazing. We've seen a lot of huge success from them in both harvesting deer, but just overall herd health, right? Yep. And just know that when you start down this path, you should start thinking about it in early spring, because that's when it starts, and know that it's not done when you seed. Like a lot of these food plots, just like clover, you have to maintain. You got to mow it. You may need to spray it. Some of your other food plot blends, you're going to need to spray and maintain until they reach a certain level, and it will benefit your farm. It'll benefit your hunting experience, but just know it's going to take some work and it's going to take some money to do it correctly. That's all I'm saying. Just don't go into it thinking you're going to just knock it out quick and get some fantastic result, because you're probably not. You might get lucky, but more times than not, you won't.
Yep. And off of that being a realistic point, we've been talking about here, if you're going to plant something in the timber, I think that one of the biggest hang-ups that hunters have in general is taking advice or taking somebody's word on something and misapplying it to another thing. Here's an example of that. Dan Infalt, if you've ever listened to him, he's a very aggressive hunter. He's a public land, the hunting beast. You can check him out. And his advice may not apply so well to a person that's hunting A40 or A50 of private land in Illinois. Mm-hmm. If you go busting in there and you kick a bunch of deer out and your resident big buck that's possibly living there, that may pester that deer to the point where maybe he doesn't want to come back. Maybe he's very leery. Maybe he's only nocturnal in that area from then on. So So just know what information you're absorbing, know how to apply it. So for Garrett and I, the things that we're telling you right now, they're going to apply to you if you are more so a person that is hunting private land, that is able to manipulate and manage private land with the landowner's graces. So don't go in there and take some turnip seed and go in with a broadcast spreader into the middle of timber and fertilize it and expect it to grow. Because if you do that, you're going to have your seed bed worked up first. You're going to have your canopy killed. You're going to need sunlight to that plot. So just all these things that we've been talking about, take it with a grain of salt, if you will, and realize, like we've been saying, have realistic expectations of it. If you're planting into ground that's not, ideal, you're going to have to fertilize the shit out of it. If you're planting into really good soil, don't just trickle stuff out on top of hard ground and expect it to grow. If your seed mix calls for disking, tilling, planting, using a drill, etc., make sure you abide by that and have realistic expectations, if you don't do that, of what is going to occur and what's going to happen. So that kind of rounds us out. Hopefully you guys learned something this episode from the mistakes that we've made in the past, which for food plots, we've been doing this for about a decade and a half now, and we've made a lot of mistakes, a lot of lessons learned, a lot of lessons of hard knocks, a lot of things, that we've done that have worked, but a lot of things that we've done that have failed. But now we're kind of starting to zero and hone in on those things, and with some maturity, with some patience, with some more financial resources, since we furthered our careers and things like that, we've been able to see the fruits of our labor. Like we've said, never found more than 10 sheds on one particular property that we manage. 3 sheds, but this year we were able to find over 10, so quadrupled. And that's just a counter, kind of a reference number, but there's lots of things that you can do out there in the food plot realm that can do things like that, that can add to you having more success in turkey season. There's turkeys all over our property in the spring because they're nailing our clover. They're nailing plots that we've had that have come up before all the monocrop agriculture around. So it far extends beyond the reaches of just deer hunting, beyond whitetail hunting. It improves a lot of things, and we hope you guys enjoyed this one, learned something from it. Our launch party
coming up quick, man. July 23rd. Tickets are being printed this week. So we will start delivering them to pickup locations, and they will be available around the 1st to 2nd week of June is when we're going to start making them available. We've got shirts that we're getting ready to get on order. I mean, it's at a point in time where we're at the PNR. We're at the point of no return. We were never looking back anyway. We're going to pack that Adler. I don't know. I'm so excited just because we missed it last year, and you guys know it, that we couldn't freaking have it because of the fake China virus. And so now it's going to be, the gloves are off. I'm stoked to have it, and we're going to beat it down your throats, because if you're within 3 hours of here and you don't come, man, you're missing out. I mean, it's just a ton of fun. It's absolutely free. So if you think about what it would cost you to go to a concert or something, I mean, pretty much take those ticket costs, throw it towards your hotel room, and you guys should come, because, I mean, we're giving away a Matthews bow, Badlands camo, trail cameras, deer stands, it's thousands and thousands and thousands, as our former president would say, thousands and thousands and thousands of products. Yeah, dollars of products that we're going to be giving away. It's going to be a ton of fun. And I can't amp it up enough.
Lots of free these.
Tons of free beer.
We're up in the beer ante. We're tripling the quota that we had our last in-person launch party. So we've got a lot of kegs on deck ready to rock and roll for you guys. Wayne Tompkins has went above and beyond. He supplied 15 discount codes, which he bent that number a little bit, upped it, increased it. And he's going to be bringing all those people that used our code in the bucks they killed in October, November, December, January to the launch party for those people to pick up for the first time, and a bunch of other deer. So there's going to be upwards of 30 to 40 deer there, turkeys, a bunch of stuff, elk. You're going to be able to check those out and see all those mounts like on our mini deer tour as the pre-show is going on, and all that free beer is flowing. And then afterwards, after you've watched our films that nobody has seen, you're going to be able to go to Front Street Brewery, get some discounted beer rates. That's where the after party is, which is just a couple blocks of a walk from the Adler. And since we're having it in July, it'll be probably pretty nice weather to make a couple block walk and go and hang out for the rest of the evening till that place shuts down at 1 or 2 a.m. So it's going to be a very fun night, and we can't stress to you enough how much we're going to appreciate seeing you guys there and
That's
just
it.
enjoying it.
That's it. We better see you guys there July 23rd. In closing, you've heard us say it before, Last Breath Inner Circle. That's where, speaking of the launch party, you're going to find out how to get tickets first, as well as other updates, pretty much all turkey season long. They found out if we killed before anyone else. Follow us on our social media platforms. And lastly, if you haven't already, it would sure be nice if you'd go to our YouTube page and hit that subscribe button. We're doing our best to try to grow that thing. We're fueling the jet as best as we can, and we'd love your support. So with that being said, don't waste it. We'll catch you next time. Goodbye.